Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is Choked Out Radio. We are back on the air after a very long hiatus for different reasons. I'm your host, Jim Wrestle, along with my co-host, Miguel Sosa,
What's going on, my people? Mi
and
gente.
Vibes.
In the building.
Good. And we're going to open up the season talking about Chris Jericho, Mr. Y2J, the demo god, whatever he wants to call himself in 2021. If you believe it, he's still active in AEW. Unbelievable, right? So, Jericho's definitely a pivotal part of the Monday Night Wars, and of course now into the Wednesday Night Wars with NXT. But before we even get into AEW, he did start his career. Well, he was born in Manhasset, New York. Canadian parents. His dad played for the Rangers, which is why he lived on Long Island. He's from Winnipeg, same town as Kenny Omega. And decided at the age of 19 to pursue pro wrestling, right? So he entered the Hart Brothers School and eventually hooked up with Lance Storm and eventually went around the world, right? On and off around the world, right? So did a little stop in Mexico at Corazon de Leon, aka Lionheart. That's where he got the Lionheart nickname. I'm fast forwarding a little bit because I really want to get into his ECW, right? Stint in 1996, right? So I guess we'll start with Vibes. What are your thoughts on Chris Jericho when you first saw him in ECW in 1996?
I was very impressed by his work. At that time, the high flying stuff was still fairly new to a lot of young wrestling fans that are, we're older now, obviously, but at that time,
Yeah.
It was fairly new. He made a name for himself, in Japan and Mexico. When he finally came to ECW, that was the one thing that I loved about ECW was they always brought in someone hot from an international territory, and got them some kind of name recognition here. I think I remember from reading his book how how he ended up in ECW, and when he got to the airport, he had to lie that like someone in his family died so he can get a discount on his flight. But that's just ECW. But he had a couple of really good matches while he was there. Very high flying, very technical. Made a name for himself and got himself noticed to go to the next level, which was WCW.
Yep. Sosa, what are your thoughts on Jericho when you saw him from your own perspective in ECW in 96?
First time I saw him, I'm like, all right, this is the same breed as Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko. It was he's not one of those hardcore wrestler kind of guys. This guy, could put in work in the ring. He was a high flyer, young, good-looking guy. You know what I'm saying? Long blonde hair. Like, it was someone that when you looked at him, you knew that he wasn't your typical ECW guy. And one thing that stands out to me, and I'll never forget, was when he won the television title in ECW. And I remember, I'm not sure if it was Joey Styles. I mean, it could have been. But he said, like, remember where he won his first American title. And it was in ECW.
That's true.
Because he said, like, this guy's going to win many more, in the years to come. And he was absolutely right. Chris Jericho, I think he had feuds with like a few, like I'm not sure if it was Sabu or Too Cold or, a few of those guys. But, you knew that when he was there, he wasn't going to last long because obviously someone's going to pick him up, whether it would have been, it turned out to be WCW, but yeah, I was very impressed when I first saw him in ECW.
No, it's very impressive, and the ECW crowd, right, or the fan base is very smart, right, from that perspective, and they knew great talent when they saw it and cheered and booed, right, and respectively so, right, voiced their opinion. So very well respected, and of course, caught the attention of Eric Bischoff and WCW, right? So came in 1996, and of course that is at the height of the Monday Night Wars. What are your thoughts on his run in WCW, especially in the beginning, in the cruiserweight division? I guess Vibes will start with you, and then we'll go Sosa after.
So back then, you know, the cruiserweights were the show. You tuned in every week to see the cruiserweights do their thing. They always started Nitro in the beginning, you know, with a cruiserweight match, um, just to get that excitement in the crowd. And you know, when Jericho was out there, it was gonna be a good match. He went out there with everyone: Hoovy, Ray, Eddie, uh, Benoit, you name it. You know, a broom he could have a great 5-star match with. Um, that cruiserweight division in the beginning was some of the best wrestling on TV, because again, it was stuff that unless you were a tape trader, you never seen it before. And back then, like that was the big thing. You know, you heard about a guy, you borrowed a tape, you found a tape, you watched everything, and then when they showed up in your town, you knew everything about them. The WCW fans, I don't think that they were that smart. But you know, he came in there, he made a name for himself, and he used that cruiserweight division to build himself up.
Yep.
Great.
I
So,
agree.
what do
I
you
agree. Yeah, I feel like you know, like Vibes mentioned, that cruiserweight division was must see TV. You know, that was what if you think about it, other than the NWO and everything, because yeah, it was 96, was it, that he went to WCW?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
August of '96.
yeah. So 96. So NWO was in its prime, not in its prime, but still in the beginning stages and everything. But other than the whole NWO angle, the cruiserweights was what was making WCW stand out, you know, apart from WWE at the time. And you had, like Vibes mentioned, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, Psychosis, Juventud, um, El Dandy, who's one of the greatest cruiserweights of all time. Um, but you had Jericho. But the only difference about Jericho was that he wanted to do more than that. Like he wanted to be not just a cruiserweight, but he also wanted to wrestle the likes of the main eventers, you know, and he wanted to kind of separate himself from that group. Um, but you know, they held him down, and he did his best, you know, with the whole Goldberg thing
Yeah.
that we most likely will talk about. But
Yeah.
yeah, he was good on the mic because even in ECW, you didn't really hear him talk as much. He was good, but he really like showed his whole persona in WCW. He, you know, good on the mic, good in the ring, good looking kid. Like this guy had the whole package.
So
And yeah,
so WCW's biggest problem was they never knew what they had until it was gone.
yeah,
And that happened a lot. It happened with Austin, it happened with Taker, it happened with Jericho,
Triple
um,
H.
Triple H. It happened with a lot of guys, man. And it's like, you know, they didn't really give these guys a script. They just said, yo, you got 15 minutes, go out there, do whatever you got to do, come back. They didn't, you know, they made their own feuds, and no one told them no. So a lot of these cruiserweight feuds that we saw, they were just doing it on their own, because no one gave them direction. They would just say, oh yeah, you're losing the belt tonight, but there was no story behind it. So they would create their own, you know, feuds and storylines because they just had the authority, because nobody cared. And that was like the biggest issue with WCW. It was beneficial to him and guys like him and Ray and Eddie, um, because of the work that they were doing and the stories that they were telling in the ring. You know that they were they were able to catch some of these people's eyes, but it by that time it was too late.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. We'll get to that in a few moments. But so Jericho came in white hot, baby face. Eventually, his character became stale and eventually turned heel when he won, I believe, his last or his third time the cruiserweight title from Mysterio, right? As sold out. Made him submit after the line tamer and then assaulted him with a toolbox, right? So this is where he started his whole run as a heel, right? So what are your thoughts on this heel run? He needed it, right? He came in white hot as a baby face, became stale. And I think this is where you guys was talking about as turning heel. Of course, his memorable feud with Malenko and Mysterio for that matter. And of course, the whole Ralphus, right? What's his name? Ralphus?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ralphus,
Ralphus.
security guard.
Right. So Vibes, what are your thoughts on that heel run? And then we'll get into the whole Goldberg thing, and then we'll transition into WWE. But what are your thoughts on that whole?
His heel run was great because it showed another side to him. It showed a whole nother character, and usually some guys are better heels than they are faces. And he just, I guess he was himself with the volume turned all the way up to 10.
Right.
Just the things he was saying, the things he was just being an annoying, like pain in the neck, and that feud he had with Malenko was like, dude, he came out and he had a list of all the moves that he did, and they went to like 2 commercial breaks and he was still reading the list. It was just stupid things like that, but it was entertaining, and it got people's attention, and you could tell like the crowd was starting to get behind this kind of stuff. They just wanted to see him get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
What do you thought, Sosa?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like when you're a heel, there's no limits. Like you can do and say whatever you want. And Jericho was that's like when I mentioned that's when his persona came out in WCW. That's when he was a heel. This guy, he's just he was a natural heel. And it was just hilarious with all the promos and just him talking crap about the fans and the wrestlers and everything. Like that's what made him stand out, because if you think about it, all the other cruiserweights during that time weren't really, whether their English wasn't that great or, they weren't talkative. You know what I mean? Like Dean Malenko wasn't the type to grab a mic and cut a 5-minute promo, and the same thing with, Eddie at the time too. Eddie was great on the mic, but you didn't see him really flourish until like maybe a few months down the road with the whole LWO thing. But yeah, Jericho, man, yeah, he was great during that time.
Right, great stuff. So we'll get into the whole Goldberg thing, right? So he wins the World TV Championship from Stevie Ray after substituting to Booker T. Eventually lost it. Eventually lost it, and then got into this whole program with Goldberg, which they actually never wrestled. Right? They never actually wrestled one-on-one. So, Vibes, can you tell me a little bit about, or tell the audience about that a bit?
So this feud it wasn't a WCW authorized feud. It was just Jericho taking it upon himself to start a feud with Goldberg. And, he was just randomly mention him or just, try to get himself noticed. And I think Goldberg speared him. They never actually had a match. I know they had a fist fight backstage, a real one. Jericho beat him up. But they never actually had a match because it wasn't a WCW like sanctioned. They didn't approve of this. They didn't say like, oh yeah, you can, let's do this. You versus Jericho on Monday Nitro. Like no, that wasn't the case. Like that. He just, hey, I'm gonna call out Goldberg, the hottest guy in the company right now, and I'm gonna see what happens because I'm doing whatever I want. No one's stopping me. No one's telling him anything. Why not? I would have done the same thing. He took a chance.
Yeah.
I think he got speared on the ramp, or in the aisleway during Nitro.
But never an official one-on-one.
Never an official one-on-one match.
So what are your thoughts on Jericho and I guess the WCW being WCW, right? Calling out Goldberg and like you said, right, trying to get into that main event and separate himself from the cruiserweight and TV division.
Yeah, he was taking a huge risk on that one, but this guy Jericho has always been the type to pretty much think outside the box. And yeah, that's what he did. He pretty much thought outside the box and said, yo, let me just go after the top guy in the company and see what happens. And it definitely rub people off the wrong, rub them the wrong way. I mean, I believe Goldberg, he got heat from that. I believe because he went after Goldberg. So, I mean, he took a chance, but why not? I mean, I think Jericho at that point, he was just kind of fed up with a lot of things and how he was being booked. And he just said, you know what, let me just take this chance because he's either I don't think they're gonna release him or anything for that, because he's a top talent. But he could either sink or swim with that chance. So yeah, that was
So
good on his part.
that was actually part of the reason that he left, because he just wanted a squash match against Goldberg. He wanted to get squashed against him, and Goldberg, Bischoff, and Hogan all said no. They said that it would make no sense and it wouldn't draw money, and that was a big part of the reason why he quit. He didn't resign, and that's the thing. Again, they never knew what they had until it was gone.
Right. Yeah, right. So he eventually left WCW in 1999, and eventually joined the WWE in I guess August of 1999, right? So they had a countdown, and I read his book, and I believe I read it years ago, so I'm just paraphrasing, and you can correct me, Rafi. I think he was at the post office, and he saw the countdown to like the new millennium. Yeah. And he said, hey, that's how I want to debut. So that's how they had that clock, that countdown.
That's dope.
Eventually, he debuted. Amazing promo against The Rock. Vibes, what are your thoughts on his debut with the WWE? Just the debut aspect of it.
I thought it was well done. I thought it was a pretty dope idea. It was a cool way to have somebody debut, especially debut against someone like The Rock. Kudos to The Rock for giving him the rub. I'm thankful that it didn't happen in this era where everything gets spoiled with the internet, because back then the internet wasn't what it was today. There was like a phone number you could call,
yeah,
or if you were a subscriber to the Observer and you got it mailed to you or whatever, then you probably would have known he was going to show up. But the normal people didn't know that countdown had anything to do with Jericho. And when The Rock was in the ring cutting a promo and it started counting down, and then the name Jericho popped up on the screen, bro.
Everybody, that was an amazing time right there.
Everybody went crazy, man. Like you can't manufacture that. Like it's just natural, and you can't try to replicate it, because it's never gonna happen. Especially in this day and age where everything gets spoiled, a month or two before it's supposed to happen, because everybody has to be the first one to break the story.
Yep.
But just the debut, him coming out, him going back, the fact that they gave him the opportunity to go back and forth with the hottest dude in the business at the time. They just like, oh, here's a mic, do your thing.
And not only that, not only the hottest guy in the business during that time, but probably the great during that time, The Rock was untouchable on the mic.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he still is. Right. But to put him out there, that's a tough position to be in, and he stood his ground.
That shows the faith the company had in him.
Yep.
That their investment was wise. And he held his own.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that they kind of rehearsed it, maybe not, but he held his own.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. It was a great debut for a guy who, a few years ago was considered a cruiserweight.
Right.
And now he's going toe to toe on the mic with, possibly the greatest of all time.
Exactly. So that was a great debut, and he made it public in his book. I think it's the first one or second one. I don't remember which one. That he struggled. He did struggle a lot of 1989. I get maybe he was adapting to the WWE style. Maybe he was just adapting to the culture. He did struggle. He was in meaningless feuds here and there. He eventually won the IC championship. But Vibes, what are your thoughts on why do you think he struggled? He's been public about it, so I'm not making stuff up. So
at that time, there was a lot going on, man, and it was easy to get lost in the shuffle. you know, the at that time everyone had a feud going on, but you know, their top guys were Austin, Angle, Rock, Triple H. So it was tough, man. It was hard to come in. It was hard to stay relevant. It was hard to, you know, be on the same level as these guys.
Yep.
But, you know, at one point I thought, I remember seeing him and then I was like, oh, wow, he's not even on the card. I think it was SummerSlam.
Yeah.
He just like, I think Road Dogg was wrestling and he was just like talking crap to him. And I was just like, that's weird that, you know, he's been here. He's not even on the card. And I was afraid. I was like,
wasn't his first feud against Road Dogg?
Yeah.
Right? I think
so.
I think they had like a tables match or something. I remember.
It was just, you know, at that time, it was just difficult to just break through. Like, all right, you're here. All right, you know, figure it out. Do your thing.
And you also got to remember too that he was a guy who wasn't a main eventer in WCW.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know what Vincent's mindset was during that time, but for him to bring in a cruiserweight from WCW and then all of a sudden throw him in the main event scene against his top guys, I don't think.
Well, that was the other thing too. A lot of guys, because that feud, that war was actually real to them.
Right.
They treated him differently because he was from WCW, and he said at the book that, you know, in the beginning he didn't have a lot of friends and he was very to himself because nobody cared about him. Like they were like, "Oh, you're a WCW guy. You're not one of us." Mm-hmm. So
it was enemy turf, right?
Yeah. So that in the beginning was very difficult for him to get over that hump. But once he got over that hump, I mean, dude, the sky was the limit.
Right. He eventually is the IC champ. His first long-term feud with China. If you remember, they were co-IC champs and eventually won sole possession of the IC championship at the Royal Rumble 2000. I didn't remember that. I was just, now that I'm like recapping here. What are your thoughts on that vibes on his feud with China?
Props to him because a lot of guys wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't have taken, you know, that storyline and been able to do the things that he did. Mm-hmm. But again, China wasn't, you know, your average woman. She can kick a lot of dudes' asses, but, you know, I guess he just took the ball and ran with it. And that's just credit to him that he could turn, you know, chicken shit into chicken salad, you know?
I love that saying.
Exactly. That's great. Sosa, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, man, that was great, man. You know, you got to give credit to both of them, you know, Chris Jericho for being able to put on great matches with a female wrestler, you know, and then credit to China too, that she can go in there and work with anybody. Yeah, Chris Jericho, I mean, he was one thing that you have to remember about Jericho that we've probably realized in the past 30 years of watching him work in the ring, this dude adapts to anything, man. He adapts to the times. He adapts to what's given to him. You know, he makes it turn into gold. And that feud with China, that was great, man. China was in the best shape of her life during that time, and I think it was something different, something that's never been done before, and it was great that they were both involved in it.
Right, exactly. Something unique and different, right? So throughout the winter of 2000, he loses the IC belt to Angle, and eventually they have that 2 out of 3 falls triple threat match at WrestleMania.
Best match.
Oh my God, love that match. Love that match.
One of those matches where if I'm bored and there's nothing to do, I will put the network on, or soon to be Peacock.
Yes.
And I will watch this match, bro, because oh man, like incredible. Just the back and like the chemistry these three guys had in this match. Yo, we were at the WWF restaurant.
Yeah. We saw WrestleMania 2000.
I remember
in Times Square. Wow, yes. Throwback.
I know.
Yeah, the WrestleMania 2000 party, and that's where we went. Yo, we watched it.
Yep, exactly.
I remember how hot the crowd was for this match.
It was one of those dream matches,
Yeah.
because you had Angle, Benoit. Can I say that name still
You can
on the
still
show?
Benoit, Chris Benoit.
Benoit, Chris Benoit. But yeah, freaking Jericho, Benoit, and Angle. My gosh, man. And I think he didn't win anything, right? I don't think he
No, he
won a
won
full.
He won
European
a
title.
European.
Oh, it was Angle. It was Angle that didn't win a full.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Angle came in as a dual champ.
And he
That's
left.
right. That's
And
right.
then, Jericho won the European title, which they need to bring that belt back. And Benoit won the IC title.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something that I miss, to be honest with you, about like WWE right now. That not to go off topic, but WrestleManias like that. That's a show where you see these dream matches, put together. And I mean, they still do it here and there, but like do it with your guys, like guys on your current card. Don't bring old wrestlers into the company and have them have a match with your current guys. Like, I mean, I don't during that time. I don't. Did they do the brand split? I don't remember.
No.
There was no brand split, so they're all on the same.
That was still a few
After
years away.
WCW was purchased and all that.
Yeah, that's right. So they're all on the current card, and put them together because they're gonna put on a 5-star match. That match stole the show. That was amazing, man.
No, agreed. So fast forward, so April 17th of 2000, right? He defeats Triple H, right, for the championship, and they did a Dusty Rhodes type ending, and they wound up reversing the decision. Crowd popped, Road Warrior style pop. Vibes. What are your thoughts? Was this like a test run for Jericho?
I think it was a test for him to see how the crowd would react to him winning the title. That crowd was great, dude. I popped.
Right.
I jumped out of my seat because it was just you didn't think that was going to happen. It was an unpredictable finish, but the fact that it did, and just how the whole match played out. And kudos to Triple H. Right? Triple H gets a lot of hate, but the dude always puts people over, man. And he didn't have to do that for this young kid. He didn't have to do that, but he did, and he put him over, and that crowd went nuts. I think that was like the opening match, right, of Raw, because then they reversed it later on in the night.
Later in the night or something like that.
Yeah. People were mad. I remember people were being they were so mad that they reversed the decision. Yeah. But it was like, all right, we got something here. It was like we're baking. We got a future world champion on our hands.
Right.
And dude, I still get goosebumps thinking about that match.
Wait, what match? Sorry, I stepped away.
Triple H against Jericho.
April 2000, when they teased that he won the belt. Well, he actually won the belt.
Yes. Wow. Yes. That is right. Yeah, man. I mean, give credit where it's due, man. Everybody tries to bury Triple H for some of his antics or, freaking burying talent or whatever. But this guy, he puts over people that he knows have a future. You know what I mean? And that was dope, man. And it put Jericho on the map in WWE. You know what I mean? Or WWF during that time or whatever. I don't even know when they became WWE. But yeah, man, that was great, man.
No, awesome. So, and we're gonna lead into 2001, the Royal Rumble. He defeats Benoit to win the IC Championship, which they have amazing. No matter, I know I'm not gonna get into Benoit this, Benoit that, but obviously they have amazing chemistry. He's a great friend. Was a great friend of Benoit, and then goes on to WrestleMania 17 and I guess retains against Regal, right? So, what are your thoughts on Jericho? One, throughout two questions. One, throughout his feud with Benoit, and then two, I guess your thoughts on the match at Mania 17. I guess Vibes, go ahead. You can start.
I'm sorry, just doing something stupid here. Can you just repeat the question real quick?
Sure, no problem. In regards to his feud with Benoit, the latter match at in 2001 Royal Rumble, and then also his match leading up, and I guess his match with William Regal at Mania 17.
The ladder match was dope. Again, like I'll say this to the day I die. These guys have like the greatest chemistry of all time because of their friendship and their size and their style of wrestling. It was two different but two similar styles. I wish he didn't lose the match, but I'm sorry, he did. He won the match.
Didn't he win by doing like an inverted
Jericho
on top of the ladder?
Yeah. That
was dope.
Yeah.
That was dope.
I was trying to like read and remember at the same time. I just think that the match with Regal at Mania didn't really make sense. Like, What was the point of that?
They rushed it. I felt they rushed it.
They should have had him against Benoit like in another gimmick match, just to continue the feud.
I think Vince wanted Regal to open up 2 WrestleManias in a row. That's what it was. To have because 2 years in a row he opened up the card for an IC title, for the IC title.
This started the matches that didn't make sense era at WrestleMania.
Like Edge against Booker T over shampoo. Sponsor. One of the dumbest matches ever.
There was no point. I mean, I don't remember like a feud. This is when Regal was a real man's man.
He was.
He was just his regular gimmick.
William
Regal. Yeah.
William.
Exactly. All right.
Yeah, so, I mean, but the match was good. I mean, Regal's a badass, bro.
Yeah.
Man, he's a freaking man, bro.
There's not too many people that can hang with Regal, and he'll embarrass you and make sure that people know that you're embarrassed, like he did to Goldberg.
Honestly, next year, induct him in the Hall of Fame.
Yo, he needs to be.
He deserves it, man.
He should. All right, so we're gonna fast forward a little bit. So obviously, the whole invasion angle happens. WCW gets purchased by the WWE. Has an amazing feud with The Rock over the WCW Championship, and all roads lead to, I guess, what was the name of the pay-per-view? The last, when he won the belt, was it Unforgiven? I guess it was called Unforgiven on one, right?
When he won the Undisputed title?
Yeah, or Vengeance. I always forget.
No, I think it's Unforgiven.
Vengeance.
It was Vengeance, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yes, it's called Vengeance. Yes. Because it used to be Armageddon, but then that one year they called it Vengeance. All right, so let's explain a little bit. So you had the WCW Championship that obviously WWE acquired, right? And then, of course, you had the WWE Championship, and then you had these 4 folks, right? Angle, Steve Austin, The Rock, and Jericho, right? So, my watching it, now that I remember, I thought Jericho was the least out of the 4 to come out as the Undisputed Championship.
I did not expect him to win that match at all. I didn't expect him to even, advance. I thought it was going to come down to, Rock Austin again, or come down to I didn't expect him to be in it at all. Not at all.
Yeah. I didn't expect it either at all. I mean, I think, like Vibes mentioned, I thought it was going to be one of the top guys in the company that was going to win the Undisputed title. But Jesus, man, that was when he won, I was so impressed. I was so impressed with WWE during that time because you're giving the ball to someone new now. Like that's when they were like trying to create new stars, and this is a different time in WWE because of you signed some of the guys from WCW and everything, and it's like, let's just give the ball to someone else. You know what I mean? Let them run with it. And Jericho has proven himself for a few years before that happened. He was proving himself night after night, and he was good on the mic, good in the ring. Why not? I remember, didn't he dye his hair? He had his
the tips were like red, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like he has a new look now, and it's like, you know what? Let's shock the world right now, and let's just give him the 2 championships. And I thought that was great. I think that was also kind of like Jericho coming full circle, and pretty much shoving it to Bischoff. Where it's like, hey, listen, this guy, you let him go. And now, not only is he the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, and now he's the WWE World Heavyweight Champion as well.
Yeah.
I think that was great by Vince McMahon.
It was a defining moment in his career.
Yeah.
He still brags about that today.
It made him the man that he is today.
Yeah.
Even Austin, like I saw a tweet that he was mentioning it, and Austin was like, "Yo, get over it." It was like 20 years ago. He was like, "This happened 20 years ago. Get over it."
Yeah, because that's what he used to say all the time. Like, I'm the
And
first
he was like,
champion of in the history.
Austin was like, "It was a fluke. You got lucky. Get over it."
and then he used to say, like, I'm the only man to defeat Rock and Austin in the same night.
It's true. No one has ever done that since.
No one, still to this day.
Right. Exactly.
I am kind of like, I do wish that they would have put like Booker T or somebody like in a position like that at the time, but it wasn't his time yet.
Right.
Yeah.
But Jericho, like, I think it was shocking, but it was good because it was.
I think it was great for Jericho, man. Booker T already was the 5-time WCW champion, man, World Heavyweight Champion. He didn't deserve that, man.
But it was different. It was something that wasn't expected, and I didn't really hear a lot of people complaining about it, like they do now. They complain about everything.
Right. Right. So leading up into 2002, he fights The Rock. I remember at Royal Rumble 02. Okay match. They have always had a great chemistry, those two. But let's get into the elephant in the room, which is WrestleMania 18, right? So we all know Rock Hogan stole the show, not necessarily because of athleticism, because of the crowd kind of, obviously there's a couple of living components that made that match memorable and one of the top matches in WrestleMania history, right? So the whole premise, Triple H's premise was like the world title should go on last. The feud was good. Stephanie was involved. They were, on camera divorce storyline. What are your thoughts on that whole thing of the world championship going on last, and the match didn't live up to the hype, or the crowd wasn't into it? So
honestly, man, I don't even remember watching the match live because of how hyped and crazy things got after that Hogan Rock match. The crowd there was dead. The crowd watching at home was dead. I had no energy. And I didn't even care that match was going on. I think we were all together in Saltel Arena, and I didn't even care that it was going on because I had no energy anymore I was exhausted from like.
I think we were still talking about the match.
Yeah, how the turn and Hogan and this and that and his return, and it was a lot. I think that match should have went on first, and then Rock Hogan should have main evented. Right. And I think they learned their mistake moving forward since that pay-per-view, that these big caliber matches are either in the middle of the show or they're at the end, because that crowd was dead.
Yeah.
And I think the women's match was after that match, and then it was the main event, which was stupid. Whoever put that card together was an idiot, because it should have been the women's match, the world title match, and then they should have done Rock Hogan.
Right.
Yeah,
because like that crowd was on fire. Yo, I watched that match like last week. I watched that match all the time, dude.
And it wasn't a bad match.
No, it's just
and Triple H.
No, it's just the crowd. You could see the crowd. They were dead, yo. They had no energy. They were just like, they were exhausted. Think about it. That was the first time Hogan was back in Toronto since WrestleMania 6. He's going in the ring against The Rock. That crowd went nuts.
Who's hot? Hot from his movies. Who's hot? It's one of the top stars in the company, right?
Although he flexed and the crowd went nuts.
Right.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I remember, I don't know who it was. I think Gyro, Jim Wrestle. Sorry, I think it was with you that we went to SmackDown when, this was when Triple H, had his comeback and everything, and he won the Rumble.
Oh yeah.
It was during that time in 2002. Yeah, and
quad injury.
Was that there?
And and we went to SmackDown, and Triple H was hot during that time. Like the fans were behind him and everything, and then it was just, I don't know. I guess like just putting The Rock and Hogan before that match, it just killed the crowd.
Right.
It killed the crowd, man. I mean, we were all together watching that pay-per-view. I don't know what we were doing. I don't know if we were, freaking hyped up and everything, but we were still talking about that match, man. The fans, forget us. Look at the fans. They were on their feet the entire time. Right. They were on their feet the entire time. They were behind every punch, every kick, every pose, everything, man. And it was amazing. It was amazing to watch. And like Vibes mentioned, they learned. I think they learned from that a match of that caliber shouldn't be put on before the main event.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Especially two names that big, like Hulk Hogan, the greatest of all time, versus The Rock, like the future. Like hell no, dude. That was a mistake, and I think that if they could go back in time, they would have never put that on before, because I'm telling you, dude, Hogan flexed. And that crowd lost it.
Right.
That was what? Only the second time in history that a heel came in and they heel and face changed during a match.
Right.
Yeah.
So the results of the Rock Hogan and the way that crowd emotion was invested in that match obviously impacted the world championship. Triple H wins the undisputed championship. Then Jericho kind of, I guess he feuds with Triple H, but then he gets into this whole tag team with Christian, on and off for about 2 years. What do you think happened with Jericho throughout, up until when he left in 2005? What do you think happened in those 3 years? Well, he did feud with Shawn Michaels, which was an amazing at WrestleMania 19. But what do you think happened? Besides that feud, what do you think happened to Jericho throughout those times? Ribes.
Lost in the shuffle, man. There was just a lot going on. You had all these WCW guys come over. You had Kevin Nash there. You had Hogan. You had Paul, Booker T, the whole ECW thing. There was just too many guys, and I don't think they knew what to do with him. And he just got lost in the shuffle.
Yep, that was my answer. I totally agree with Rafi Vibes. He got lost in the shuffle. I think Vince probably thought, like, look, we gave him his shine. We gave him the top spot, and that's it. Now we're gonna focus on the other guys, right after that, the WrestleMania after that, I mean, dude, he still worked with freaking HBK.
I did at WrestleMania 19.
And 19, and that was a great feud. That feud went on for months. That wasn't like a huge step down on the ladder. You know what I mean? Like that's still, I consider that a main event match.
I think Shawn requested to work with him because it was like his first like real time back. Because prior to that, he was just doing matches with Triple H.
Yeah.
But I think he requested to work with Jericho because they had such similar styles, and the feud, the way that they built it was that Jericho was trying to always
Wasn't that HBK's first WrestleMania since '98?
Since the return, since his return back, that was
13. Yeah. So then Jericho feuds with Cena and then departs right in 2005. He was actually they finally trusted him to be in that main event picture, right? So what are your thoughts on his feud with Cena? And I believe it was SummerSlam. I could be not Summer. It could be. I remember it was like summer 2005, right? What are your thoughts on Jericho and John Cena in 2005, right before leaving?
I think it was him helping Jericho helping Cena get to the next level. Clearly Cena was the guy, and that was the person that they were going to build the company behind. And they tagged Jericho with being the guy to get him over. I thought it was a good move. They had a pretty good match. They had good chemistry. But you could tell Jericho was burnt out. He needed time off. So him leaving, it was inevitable to take some time off. You got to reinvent yourself and come back.
Mm-hmm.
Vibes. I mean, Sosa, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Sorry, I was looking at you.
I'm just here shaking my head like, yeah. No, I agree with Vibes. Cena is the face. They were going to make him the face of the company, and why not put him with one of their best workers in the company? You know, like it'll help build him up. I think that was a good move. And I think Jericho also, he had other things in mind. Like he wanted to explore other things, you know, outside of wrestling. Yeah, you know, like I think he just had his mind somewhere else, you know, and he probably felt like it was time to just move on and explore other options, which is not a bad thing to do. But you know, he still has a lot left in the tank, you know, in 2005. But yeah, it was. I think that's what it was. I think they were just trying to build Cena during that time.
Yep. So he leaves in 05, takes 2 years off, and comes back the second coming in 07. What are your thoughts on his return vibes when he came back on that Raw?
When Jericho came back, that's when he came back with the jacket, right?
The jacket, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. It was just I didn't like the
hair?
What was that? Like no, the way he came back with like the hidden
message, cracking the code and all that stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of corny. Because like it was kind of obvious that it was him that was coming back.
Was that the return where they were like save us or something? Yeah. There was like cracking a code.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, that was it in 2007.
07, yeah.
Oh wow! Yeah. I feel like that was a few years ago.
No.
Time flies, man.
Yeah, bro.
What do you thought on that whole run?
I thought the run was good.
The highlight of that run, of course, was the Shawn Michaels feud, right? That he eventually won the belt
because he changed himself again midway through. I guess he figured that light up jacket crap wasn't working.
Yeah,
he kind of like talking at a lower tone, started wearing suits, changed his whole persona. Kind of what the Miz is now.
Right. Yeah, Miz stole that, right? Wearing the suits and all that stuff, right?
But I thought it was good. They had a really, really good feud. That they got the wife involved.
Yeah.
They messed up Shawn's eye.
Yeah. He punched the wife for
real.
Still
Messed up.
Yeah. He also came back with that haircut.
That's right.
He had the short hair with the spiky hair and everything, and he had a new look. He was thinner.
Yeah.
I felt like he was much thinner and everything, but he looked so he looked different for sure.
Yeah.
He reinvented himself, you know.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do in wrestling, man. You got to reinvent yourself.
Yep. Fast forward into, you have the WrestleMania right behind you, WrestleMania 25, right? So I guess it leaked out. He was, you know, at the time, well, that year, 08, The Wrestler came out, amazing movie. Mickey Rourke was expected to win the Oscar. He won all these awards and wound up not winning the Oscar that year. Maybe it was because it leaked out that he was going to do something with Jericho on at WrestleMania. I have an actual match, right? They wound up just having a confrontation. But what are your thoughts on Jericho messing around with the legends and then playing off the Wrestler storyline? Vibes, go with you.
I didn't like it. Not for him. I didn't think that it was something for him to do, especially like with the run that he was on. You know, the heel championship run that he was on, and then no disrespect to the legends, but I just thought that match didn't need to be at a WrestleMania. That could have been like on a Raw. I think Ricky Steamboat had a heart attack during that match.
No, he did not.
Yeah,
there's no way.
Yeah,
no way he had a heart attack.
I think there was a tag match with him in it, and or he got hurt or something. Something happened.
Getting hurt is not a heart attack.
He did not have a heart attack. This guy Steamboat put on a great match. Man.
Hold on. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm pretty sure.
Actually, the next month at Backlash, I think whatever pay-per-view there was, Jericho fought Steamboat one-on-one, his idol, which was pretty good. It was pretty good. And then Steamboat held his own in 09, so it was pretty dope.
Yep.
So he came back and he was gonna fight Mickey Rourke. Obviously, did not happen. So that's Chris Jericho for you, right? So,
I mean, I must say that I disagree with Vibes with the. You know, with
the Wrestler storyline with that
the point that he said that it shouldn't have been Jericho. I think it was great for Jericho,
right?
Because you know,
mainstream press, right?
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they didn't have a main event type match for him during that time, but you still had a match for him where he can wrestle legends and still have Mickey Rourke involved, that's going to be all over the news, all over TMZ, you know, and I mean, it puts his name out there even further.
Right.
And not only that, you get to work with legends, man, you know, like, and he was able to carry that whole freaking match. He carried the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, who was it? It was
I want to say Steamboat, Piper. Was it Flair? Was it? Am I right?
No, I don't think Flair was there.
Or maybe Flair was on the outside.
It wasn't Slaughter, right?
I'm trying to figure it out.
I'm trying to figure out. I know it was Steamboat and Piper.
Yeah, I know those two.
But regardless, like if you were a guy and they said, "Hey, listen, we have this match for you for Mania. We want you to work against these three legends, and Mickey Rourke is involved. Wouldn't you do it?" I mean, I would. Shit, hell yeah. You know, I think, and not only that, bro. What was everyone talking about the night after? How great Steamboat was in the ring with Jericho.
It was a match on Raw the night after.
Oh, Jimmy
he got injured.
Oh yeah, Snuka Steamboat.
Oh, Snuka.
Yeah, I forgot.
He did not have a heart attack.
No, it wasn't a heart attack, but he got injured.
He had a heart attack.
He got injured.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh man! All right, so Jericho, we have 09. Fast forward only because we could sit here for days talking about Chris Jericho, so I just gotta like skim a couple of things. But important piece that later that night at WrestleMania 25, labeled one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, depending who you ask. Right? You could debate that, right? Shawn Michaels against The Undertaker, the first one, right? Then they fight again, right? They end up wrestling against Michaels and Taker in WrestleMania 26, right? Undertaker, as you know, is the world heavyweight champ, and Michaels costs him the belt at the Chamber of 2010, right? Who's the champ? Chris Jericho, right? So Jericho is the champ.
He inserted himself in that match.
He did.
That's what it was. He inserted himself in the match.
And he fights, I believe, Edge in 2010. What are your thoughts on that whole Jericho run and him once again becoming a world champ once again and fighting Edge?
Surprising. I didn't expect him to win the title. He was nowhere even near the title picture at that point.
Yeah.
Who did he take out before the match? That's a chamber that Taker got burned, right?
He got burned the same night. He got burned.
They got set on fire by mistake.
Yeah, he was pissed at the guy, man. He said he said it in the documentary. He would have punched the pyro guy. Had it like if he would have been right in front of him, right? That in there.
Well, who did Jericho? Whose place did he take? I know he like took somebody out and then inserted himself in the match. Who was it?
Remember? I
gotta go back and watch it.
Yeah, go back and watch it. I do remember Shawn Michaels coming out from the ring and eventually costing Taker the
Yeah.
That I remember.
And let's not forget that he was in a tag team with Edge.
That's right.
A little before that, and then Edge got injured.
Right.
And
back in 2010, won the Rumble.
Yep. And that was a great match, man.
Yeah.
That was a great feud, you know, because Jericho was blaming Edge for everything.
Right. And
then that's what led to that match at WrestleMania. But that was a good run. That was a good run by Jericho.
It was. And he lost the belt on a SmackDown to Jack Swagger. He retained it. What do you thought?
Yeah, he cashed in, Jack Swagger.
And I think he handpicked Swagger. He wanted to really put him over. Like, what are your thoughts on that? On Swagger, on the whole thing?
I know what happened. I know what happened.
He wasn't ready.
What do you think happened?
No, what happened was that Jericho knew that 10 years or 11 years later, they were going to form a faction in AEW called Inner Circle.
Yeah.
And he was
cut his connection. Yeah. Cut his connection. Turn it off.
That's what happened. Jericho, he knows the future. That's what happened.
No, turn it off, Phil.
Vibes, what do you think happened around that time? So he, obviously it makes sense with the stuff with Edge, but then with Swagger, what do you think?
I think it was terrible. Jack Swagger, he wasn't a good champion, man. He wasn't ready at the time. I think he was still too young, and I don't know. I didn't like it. This was like the transition period of WWE,
right?
Going back to like the dark days. They just had, I don't know. It didn't do anything for me. I don't think he should have lost it, but who, if he didn't lose it to Swagger, who was he going to lose it to?
Yeah. I think
really
WWE was just trying to build another star, with Jack Swagger. Jack Swagger had that look, man. He had that look. And it was kind of like, you got to remember too, like it was after Angle left, you know, and Jack Swagger had this look where it was kind of, same type of,
they had a lot of holes to fill.
Yeah, pretty much. Like he kind of Jack Swagger during that time kind of reminded me a little bit of Angle, where with the move sets and the fact that he was a collegiate wrestler as well, I believe. I think that's what it was, and he had that look, man. He had that look, and they wanted to give him the title, but they rushed it.
I agree. So Jericho leaves a little bit after losing the belt, or probably even right after, right? And he eventually comes back at some point in late 11, early 12, and he feuds with CM Punk. Actually has a great match at WrestleMania 28, same card as Rock Cena 1, right? So I guess Sosa, what are your thoughts on his match with CM Punk, the great CM Punk, the internet IWC Messiah?
The ice, was it what do you call these fans on the internet? IWC darling.
Yeah.
The IWC darling.
Yeah.
CM Punk. I mean, it was a great match though. I enjoyed it. It was hard hitting. It was a hard hitting match. It was a great feud, again, and you have two guys that can go in the ring and they were evenly matched, and I think it was just, WWE for WrestleManias, they know how to like put two people against each other that are pretty even in the ring, and they know that that's something that fans want to see, and I think that's what they did. But I mean, it didn't end the show though. No. You know what I mean? It didn't end the show. It was one of those which we know by now that CM Punk has wrestled for the title at WrestleMania and didn't even end the show. He hasn't main evented in WrestleMania, and that's what made him upset throughout the years. But yeah, I mean, it was a good match. It was a good match.
I like the feud, the build up to it. Didn't he smash a Jack Daniels bottle on his head?
He did.
Yeah.
He doesn't drink.
And he poured all the Jack Daniels in his face and everything.
Yeah, and then he broke the bottle on his head. Like, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and talking about his family, his sister and his family and all that. So I thought that was a good build up there. So that's in 2012, right? I'm just fast forwarding a little bit because he has such a long career, right? So if you fast forward until the year after, it's the whole thing with Fandango. I mean, again, Jericho gets lost in the shuffle again. What are your thoughts on the whole putting over Fandango in 13?
I know that he didn't want to do it. Mm-hmm. Vince asked him for a favor. That shit was so stupid. I'm sorry. That made no sense. At WrestleMania,
we went there. Remember?
Yeah, we were there.
Yeah, it was
there. It made no. Yes, stadium. Fandango was popular because of his stupid theme song, and everybody was there. That was it. And like just based off of that, like, okay, you're gonna beat Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. Like, you could even see his face. Like, he was pissed putting him over.
Right.
And then now, where's Fandango now?
In NXT. Still.
Yeah. It doesn't make no sense.
I said it when I saw it. I was like, that made no sense.
Right.
The moment Fandango defeated Jericho at WrestleMania, it made no sense to me. I mean, it was all for a dance. That's what they wanted. They wanted to get that shot of everyone doing the dance. Right. That's all it was. I didn't agree with it. But again, Jericho, he puts people over. He has no problem putting young talent over, and we should respect him for that.
Yeah. Yep. So that happened at 13. Left not so much a little bit after that. I don't even think he was on a card at all in 2014 for WrestleMania 30. I don't remember him in 14. For WrestleMania 30 or 31. I do remember him coming back in 15 and having his first feud with AJ Styles, right? Had that match at WrestleMania 32. He actually defeated Styles. I don't agree, but yeah, he had a match with AJ Styles. But he did teach him a lot of things. I think AJ had that similar issue, coming from TNA, similar issue to what Jericho had, right, coming from WCW, right? I see the correlation there, and it actually helped them a lot in adapting to the WWE style. Do you guys know what I mean about when I refer to that?
Yeah.
What do you thought? Yeah. What are your thoughts, vibes on that whole thing with AJ Styles and Y2AJ and all that in 2016?
I thought it was stupid. It was just like
I love your honesty.
A cheap way to sell a T-shirt.
Y2AJ, right?
Yeah, I thought it was dumb. I liked their match. I just didn't like the outcome. It should have been, AJ obviously should have went over, but they had their reasons why he didn't. The feud was cool. Two good workers. They were able to do their thing. I hate when they put random people together in a tag team, man. And then like, oh yeah, let's make merch. Like the Hardy Bros right now. It's so stupid.
Exactly.
Like you have I don't know. I just hate it. I just despise when WWE does this stupid shit. And like I feel bad for the people that actually bought the T-shirt.
Right.
Because it was good for 2 weeks.
Very short run, yeah. It broke up.
By the time you order the shirt and it got delivered, it was over.
It was done.
It feels like
exactly. What are your thoughts on that whole feud with AJ Styles and being his first worker in front of all those 100,000 people in WrestleMania 32?
I enjoyed it. It was to me personally, I felt like it was a dream match. AJ Styles versus Chris Jericho. They never worked against each other before. And I think it was good for Mania. It was good. It was AJ's first WrestleMania, and I think that was a great opponent for him for his first match at WrestleMania. Again, I agree with you guys. I don't agree with Jericho going over in that match, but I mean, it is what it is. Jericho was screwed in the past, and they were like, "Hey, we'll give you the victory on this one."
Right.
But yeah, it didn't, but I don't think it hurt either wrestler. I don't think it hurt AJ by losing that night. But yeah, that part didn't make sense to me. But it was a good feud. It was good for what it was worth.
Not to get off topic, but why do you think AJ struggled? I guess I don't want to say struggle. Struggle is a stretch, but what do you think it was challenging for him to adapt the first couple of months?
Same thing that we mentioned earlier. It was TNA's top guy signing with WWE, and it was like, all right, we're gonna give him this moment where it's like, all right, he's debuted in the Rumble, everyone went crazy. He had the whole Road Warrior pop and everything, and then it's like, okay, we're not going to throw you in there with our top guys right away. Right. We're going to make you work for it. You know what I'm saying? We're going to make you earn it. And at that point, I mean, Jericho at this point, he's a legend already.
Right.
And that's not a bad thing if you lose to a future Hall of Famer at your first WrestleMania, But yeah, he got lost in the shuffle.
I think with AJ, they threw him in there with Jericho as a test.
Right.
To see how he would handle, one, losing in front of a crowd that big, and then two, how he would be able to wrestle in front of a crowd that big. And I think he superseded, everyone's expectations. And like, look who he is now, 2-time WWE champion, multi-time, singles title holder, the IC, the US title.
He gave Taker's Undertaker's last match.
Right. Yeah. Cinematic or not, right? It was his last match, right?
Cinematic or not, it's still good.
It was still a good match. Yeah. Exactly. All right, so let's fast forward Jericho a little bit. So he has this whole festival of friendship with Kevin Owens, that whole feud with Kevin Owens. Goldberg wins the Universal Championship. There was rumors that WrestleMania 33, we're actually going to have Kevin Owens against Jericho for the Universal Championship. Obviously, that did not pan out because Goldberg wound up wrestling Lesnar for the championship instead of the other way around, right? So, what are your thoughts? The match, it was okay. I wasn't a big fan of the match, the Owens match. I don't know if it was of chemistry or timing. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that whole thing with Owens? Great build up, didn't live up to the hype. And it was obviously change of belt, right? It was over the U.S. versus the World Championship.
In the words of the great Jim Ross, a whole lot of sizzle, not a lot of steak.
It's true.
The match, the build,
yeah,
everything was great,
yeah.
But the match, they shit the bed, bro. And it happens. It happens. It happens to the best of them. Yeah. Everybody has that happen to them. I don't think that they were just like, they just weren't there mentally. It just wasn't like, it was like, I think Kevin Owens was still upset because, having to lose to Goldberg and the way he lost, how quick he lost.
Yeah.
To this freaking part-time jobber.
Who still doesn't want to go away.
Yo, I'm telling you,
still around, bro. He's still around.
But yeah, dude, a whole lot of sizzle, not a lot of steak, man. It's just the sound and then you get there and it's just like, where's my food?
Right.
That's the match.
Right.
I mean, this was during Jericho's when, again, Jericho's one of those guys that continues to reinvent himself.
Yeah. And
this is when he came up with the list of Jericho.
Yes.
Right.
And that got over, bro. That was so over, and another thing is, like, you can't trust Jericho as a tag team partner.
Right.
He'll continuously turn on you.
Right.
But the buildup was amazing. The buildup was great. I mean, that was one of the top rated segments that entire year. The Festival of Friendship.
Vegas, yeah.
I mean, it was great. It was well put together and everything. But I think, like Vibes mentioned, the fact that that was probably during that year, that was one of the great buildups. That was one of the great the best feuds going on in WWE during that time. And the fact that it wasn't for the World Championship when it could have been, it kind of turned them off. Yeah, I feel like they were like, you know what, let's not even go 100% in this match.
And I think that's what it was. I think that's exactly what it was. It was just like, the original plan was this, and then Goldberg, that stupid match didn't need to be for the title.
The Goldberg Lesnar, it could have been just no belts. It could have been just a match and that's it, right?
Yeah. But it was just because they wanted the name synonymous with the Universal title, which
that was in Orlando, right?
Orlando, yep.
Yeah.
And
but that was partially the reason I think why Jericho left too.
Yeah, actually, he has. Yeah, I think he came back for like a Raw special, Raw 25 or something in the back or whatever it was. But he didn't wrestle. He hasn't wrestled since that match, I believe. So, sorry, IWC, if I'm wrong, but I don't remember him being in the match after that, right?
Had a backstage segment.
Yeah, backstage.
That's in my opinion.
Exactly. So I believe that was the end of Jericho's run. It was noted during the Kevin Owens documentary. I saw that Vince was pissed at that match. He was upset. I remember him being pissed about it. Right. So Kevin Owens always tried.
Isn't that also when Goldberg won the belt and then he came in the back and threw the belt at Vince McMahon? And it's like, wasn't that?
No, it was Lesnar.
That was Lesnar.
Yeah, I mean Lesnar. Yeah, he won the belt and he like threw the title at him.
I don't know. Could have been the same show. I don't know why, but he's stupid. So Jericho, that's it, right? So that's the end of Jericho in the WWE. A couple of backstage segments, which I mentioned, Raw 25, right, being one of them, and eventually has this run with New Japan, right? So has this amazing the Painmaker, right? Has this amazing matches with Okada, and amazing match with Omega, right? What are your thoughts on Jericho and coming over to New Japan and now testing and coming back to Japan? Because I fast forwarded it, but technically that was like his second or third tenure in Japan. What do you think?
I loved it. I loved everything he did in Japan because, there's no filter there. You can curse. Nobody cares. You can be however you want. He changed himself up again. He looked like He looked like a freaking sick freak. His eyes painted.
It was like that Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
He had his eyes painted. You know,
the spikes,
the spikes, everything. Like I thought it was pretty dope. You know, the feud that he had with Omega was dope. He took the camera, he gave it the finger.
Right.
The match
for the belt.
Yeah, that was a really good match.
And it's what I think it ended it kind of weird. It was not a Rainmaker ending. A lot of people were complaining because it was just like a random move that Okada beat him with. Like, Jericho's known to do that, right? He'll lose like an inside cradle or a small pack or backslide.
But I thought it was cool. You know, he still has, you know, name recognition, so why not go somewhere else and help them out? Yeah, and I think that was around the time where he told Vince that he would never wrestle for another company in the U.S. So he went to Japan and blah 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 blah.
Then he wrestled Naito twice, right? Which was a great 2 matches with Naito, right? And then that's right. Then obviously he signs with AEW. What do you think led up to that with Jericho coming over to AEW?
I think they needed him. I think if they didn't sign him, it wouldn't have gotten the buzz that it did. Because, like, yes, the Young Bucks are famous. Kenny Omega is famous, but they're not household names. Like your average wrestling fan is not gonna know who they are unless, you know, you go to a wrestling show and you see a Mark with a Young Bucks shirt or dressed like the Young Bucks, they know who they are.
Yeah.
But your average like little kid is like, I don't know who these people are. And him going there was the spark that AEW needed, because I don't think without Jericho, it wouldn't have mattered. Like, I don't think they would have got the TNT deal without Jericho. I don't think that they would have a merchandising deal like they have without Jericho, because he put them on the map. Especially the fact that, you know, he was their first champion, and even up to, like, all right, when they preempted Dynamite and they showed it after an NBA game, Chris Jericho was trending worldwide. Because so many people that used to watch wrestling that stopped and they were watching the NBA and the game ended and the first person that came out on TV was Chris Jericho, and people were like, holy shit, Chris Jericho's still alive? Holy shit, I didn't know Chris Jericho was wrestling. Holy shit, what happened to Chris Jericho? He looks weird. His body's this, his body. But it was a buzz and it got people talking. And what happened? The next week, the ratings for AEW were almost 1 million because Chris Jericho has name recognition. And, you know, I don't know how much more longer he signed there for. You know, again, came out, reinvented himself, Le Champion. He has a scarf. He's down with the Inner Circle. He's giving all these guys the rub. But without him, I don't think AEW would have survived, or even they would have had that first show, and then that would have been it. Like, they would have never got a TV deal or none of that if it wasn't for Chris Jericho.
What are your thoughts, Sosa, on the importance of Jericho and his signing to AEW?
So that gave AEW credibility, gave them a legend on the roster. You know, like Rafi Vibes mentioned, this is a guy that used to be on TNT back in the days. And a lot of people from down south that used to watch WCW and don't really, you know, they're not really in tune with WWE or whatever you call it, you know what I mean, or whatever it is. Like they finally see a familiar face on TNT, and which is Chris Jericho. And I mean, it just shows you that Jericho is willing again to think outside of the box. You know, he's been in every single company in the United States. I mean, other than ROH or whatchamacallit, TNT, TNA, whatever, Impact, whatever. This guy's been everywhere. He's been all over the world, and like now you have a legend on your roster that's going to give you credibility. And I think that was a great signing by them. And it was a great move on his part too, because he has connections too. You got to remember, this guy's been in the business for 30 years and he has connections all over the place. And like Vibes mentioned, it was the NBA game right after with Shaq and Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith and everything. They had Jericho on the show and he was talking about AEW putting them over. And like they all know who Chris Jericho is,
right?
All those guys. So then you can't have Orange Cassidy on there because they're gonna be like, I've never seen you before, like no disrespect to him, but that's the thing. Like Jericho is one of those guys that's been in the business for 30 years. He's been all over the world. Everyone knows who he is now. He's a household name, and that's what he gave to AEW, and that was amazing on their part.
Great point. So, son, you brought up a great point. The connections, right? I mean, I skipped over the feud with Jon Moxley or Dean Ambrose in WWE. Probably influential to signing him. Signing, of course, the late Luke Harper, rest in peace, right? Influential and I'm pretty sure in Rusev, right? Influential in Jack Swagger, so because he worked with him back as we mentioned before. So yeah, all those connections were important.
And it also gives a veteran in the locker room, right, someone who's a leader, someone who can give all those young guys. Because if you look at the AEW roster right now, it's just a bunch of guys that have made a name for themselves in the indie scene, and they're just putting them out there on TV.
They never wrestled on TV. They had no idea what a hard camera was.
No.
TV match is different from a match at an Elks Lodge, right? A lot different.
Yeah, I mean, you have guys that we've seen here in New York in the indies, and now they're on TV, which is amazing to me.
Santana Ortiz.
Santana Ortiz, Private Party. You have Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy. These guys are making a name for themselves. And it's about time. This is a new time in wrestling where you have guys that have been wrestling for over 10 years in the independents, and now they have, like, AEW gave them a chance now to be on TV, right, on national TV nonetheless. But you have a guy like Chris Jericho. I mean, when they came up with the whole Inner Circle gimmick, and he added guys like Santana Ortiz, LAX, and what's this guy's name? Sammy Guevara, man. Yeah. Like, the fact that he added those guys, and you see Jericho coming out with the Puerto Rican flag around his neck. He's talking about Moro with or Sancocho or whatever, like him like praising that, like, it's just great to see on TV, because again, Jericho has been one of those guys that he adapts to the times. He adapts to the crowd. He knows what the audience wants, and I mean, that's why a lot of people consider him one of the greatest of all time.
Him winning the belt, right move.
Gotta get this.
First champ. What is that? I can't see because of the. Oh, okay.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
Ortiz.
That's right. I gotta get it.
He comes with the chancla, yo.
Vibes, right move.
Santana.
I gotta get it.
That's amazing,
my boys, man. What right move? Him being the first world champ, or you think Hangman Page should have been the first world champ?
If they didn't put the belt on Jericho, it wouldn't have meant anything. Without him being world champion, the first ever, the belt wouldn't have meant anything. Did everybody want Hangman to win? Absolutely, but it wasn't his time. Right. And I think everybody knew that if they don't put that belt on Jericho first, it's a mistake. And making him the first ever AEW World Heavyweight Champion really put the company on the map. I'm an AEW critic. Everybody knows that I don't hold back. Do I like the product? Yes. Are there things that can be better? Absolutely. Right. But the best thing they did was have Chris Jericho show up, have Chris Jericho win the title, and put the company on the map.
Did you like his run as world champ, leading up to losing to Moxley earlier?
I did.
A year
Yeah,
ago.
I did.
He lost the belt a year ago, right before the pandemic.
He had a really good run as champion.
You think he could have kept it a little bit longer, or you think that was the right timing? You think he wanted?
No, I think it was the right time, and then they did the right thing. They made another household name, their world heavyweight champion.
Right, and Moxley. Right?
Yeah, because people will flip the channel and be like, "Yo, Dean Ambrose, what's he doing here?" And now he's their world champion. So it gives credibility to the title because he was WWE champion before, and then taking the belt from Jericho, and just a random dude flipping through the channels, like, "Yo." I had one of my boys hit me up and was like, "Yo, Dean Ambrose, what, he left WWE?" And I'm like, "Yeah, he's John Moxley now." They're like, "Oh shit, I just saw it on TV." It's like, "Yeah, man," and that's what they want. They want that buzz. So, and then now with Kenny Omega as champion, it was cool in the beginning, but now it's just like, it's the same thing.
Right. Initial buzz, right? Because of the whole crossover thing with Impact. Eventually, I'm pretty sure we're going to see an invasion angle. Or continue to see an invasion angle of some kind. But for now, I guess you're right. Right after that first night, I'm like, right? That's my opinion. Like, what are your thoughts, Sosa, on the I guess the I don't want on AEW and Omega now that he's champ, right? We were talking about how Jericho put AEW on the map. Moxley did the same, right? Because he's an ex-WWE champion, and now it's on Omega. I mean, obviously, it's a good, to an extent, good move on their part. But what do you think? This whole thing with the storyline with Impact.
I think it's great for wrestling. I think it's something that we haven't seen in a long time, or ever. I think this is the Kenny Omega that the ICW fans have been wanting to see. I didn't want to say Marks. I didn't want to get people upset. But yeah, man,
Marks. Bunch of Marks.
This is the guy we've been waiting for in AEW. This Kenny Omega. Right. And I think the whole crossover thing with Impact and what I think is great for wrestling. I think is something different.
It's healthy. It's healthy for everyone.
Healthy, yeah, because not for nothing. Dude, I've been watching Impact more now than, I would say it's been a few years since I was watching Impact the way that I do.
That won't die, yo. It's been around for 15 years, Impact.
Right. Yeah, and it was stale. It was. I couldn't watch it. Now it's like, okay, you know what? Not for nothing. I because of this is making me want to watch it, and it's been good. I'm not gonna lie, it's been good. I just wish they incorporated more AAA in it, because he's also their champion,
right?
And he defeated Ray Phoenix, and I wish they mentioned that more in AEW. But I think they're slowly getting there. AEW, not agreeing with all the other things that are going on in that company, which we'll mention some other time.
Yeah.
And I hope your brother gets on for this.
He should, man. Every time we bring him on, it always doesn't come on.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You don't want the smoke.
But going back to Chris Jericho, he's still relevant. He's must-see TV. I mean, whenever I'm flipping back between NXT and AEW, whenever Jericho is on TV, bro, I leave it on there because he's hilarious on the microphone. He's still working young talent, so I'm curious to see how he's going against these younger guys, but yeah, I think it's just right now is a good time to be a wrestling fan,
No, for sure. Last question. What do you I guess it's a double question. One, what do you think when do you think it'll end, I guess, Jericho's run finally? When does he retire? And two, what do you think how do you think he wants to be remembered by? Because we'll start with Sosa and then we'll close out.
I don't think he's ever gonna retire, man. I think that he's just gonna limit his in ring and then maybe go to commentary or be like more backstage, but I don't think he'll ever officially retire. And I think he's just going to be remembered as one of the greatest of all time, man. Yeah. Hands down, you know, all his political BS aside, or like, you know, all his antics on Twitter, or like, you know, being very outspoken about certain things, wrestling wise, like Chris Jericho, the wrestler, is different from Chris Irvine, the person. Chris Jericho, the wrestler, will go down as one of the greatest of all time. From a skinny little kid from Winnipeg that went through Mexico, that went through Japan and ECW, WCW, WWE to AEW, he's going to be remembered as one of the greatest that ever did it.
Yep, I agree. This guy, and not only that, let's just think about what he's done outside of wrestling. The Chris Jericho Cruise.
Yeah.
The Jericho Cruise, which is like now, I mean, you know, due to COVID, you know, things have changed, but that is one of the shows or one of the events that people are looking forward to every year.
It sells out right away.
It sells out quickly. And let's not forget what he's done, like with Fozzy, you know, like he's selling out concerts. He comes out with hits.
Best-selling author.
Yeah, best-selling author. And like, not for nothing, this guy is very much into charity. This guy has donated so much money to wrestlers that have passed away. He's donated money to their families. He's donated money to like so many other things, and it's just like,
to help them with surgeries. I remember I think he donated like $5,000 to Kamala.
Yeah, like to me, like that stuff touches my heart. You know what I mean? And I feel like those are the little things that, you know, Chris Jericho does that makes him probably one of the great. Like, I mean, he is one of the greatest of all time. You know, I would say, you know, top five, man, top five for all the contributions.
Mount Rushmore, but definitely
not Mount Rushmore, but because of all the contributions he's done to this business, and he's 50 years old and he still has a lot left in the tank.
Right.
You know, I honestly, after this with AEW, his run with AEW, I'm not gonna lie, I could see him as an announcer, a commentator, because when you hear him, like now he's doing commentating.
He's funny.
If you notice in certain shows, and he is hilarious, and he's just great. Like, he's funny, he's very witty, and I can see him perhaps going back to WWE.
I can see that too, having a farewell match, right? Like a Ric Flair type.
Yeah, either a farewell match or just, you know, being a commentator there and then being inducted into the Hall of Fame, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen. He's Hall of Famer.
He's definitely going to go back. He has a good relationship with Vince McMahon. You know, he did call Vince before he signed to AEW and got his blessing before going. Does he talk a lot of shit? Of course, because that's what you got to do when you're a heel, right? And you buzz. Some people can't, you know, separate real life from Twitter world,
right?
But you know, I'm pretty sure that when his time is up and he's done what he did in AEW, he'll be back WWE, hands down.
And just like, I mean, you know, not to jump the gun or anything, but he's due for a face run in AEW, because right now with the whole thing with MJF, you know, they're a tag team and everything. Right now, he's one of the top heels in the company. And I can see them, you know, I can see Inner Circle becoming a face faction down the road. You know, if you notice, every time you watch Jericho come out, the entire arena is singing his song.
Yeah, Judas.
You know, I mean, we all know the words to it. Right. So I think he's due for one of those runs. And then I don't think he'll call it quits, but he might just explore other things, like more behind the scenes. Like you guys mentioned, I can see him still being in the business for 20 more years.
Pat Patterson.
Yep. On that note, it was very long. It could have been longer had I fast forward a couple of things, but I'm happy that we went over the career of Chris Jericho and his contributions to the business, and still to be determined, right? Well, how his storybook ends, right? So it's been a pleasure, Jim Wrestle, Miguel Sosa, and Vibes. We'll see you in the next episode of Choked Out Radio. Yep. 1 second.